Hey everyone, and welcome back to Jaraci Cup 10. Took a little break of a couple days, but we're back here again casting. Moving back to Group Stage A, we want to cast all the games in this group as always. Gonna cover a couple more games of myself, which as I always say is a little bit awkward, but hey, we'll give it a try. It's myself as the Soban though, against MarchWaden, who's playing Connip here. Of course, if you remember last tournament, we were in the finals, he and I ended up winning, so I have the lower seed here, so I have the faction pick first. And I just decided to switch it up a little bit and play Soban here, just because why not? He picked Conef, obviously, that's his main. And then I was thinking, like, what map is good for Soban here? Probably this one, Kartova, just because you get in the late game scenario, you know, you have a lot of, like, open area where this carrier can use its big range advantage. Obviously, if you didn't know, Soban carry gets this huge amount of range if it gets powered up well, so I figured that'd probably be the way to play this. Let's see what MarchWaden goes for here, though. Obviously, the player who's done a lot of different strategies before, but he really likes greed openings. He really likes to throw in a couple of aggro builds during that, you know, see if he can keep you on your toes. So he could really go for anything. Looks like this is actually second PC, though. And of course, I should say again, I did play this game, but I can't exactly remember how it goes, so it will be a bit of a surprise for me as well. Sanskimmer Fab started here, but he ends up canceling this, it looks like. Yeah, I'm not sure what his plan is just yet. Let's open the resources tab. Looks like he's saving it for ref mode, probably. If that's what he wants, he'll get it in just a moment. Yeah, he does start up ref mode. So, interesting build here for MarchWaden. I don't know if I've seen this recently. Oh, and hello, Houston and Malcolm. Welcome to the channel, as always. But it's 2 PC into ref mode. I wonder what the idea there is. Hey, look at that. But you work on Sunday and Valentine's Day? Oh, I'm getting stiffed, man. Yeah, it's Valentine's Day, by the way. Happy Love Day. Who knows when this will get up on YouTube? I'm sure it won't be Valentine's Day then. PC gonna find the probe here, get a little bit of damage on it. It will narrowly survive though with 18. Pretty nice, of course, if you can keep that probe alive. What I'm always wondering is if he goes for like a rush build, can I check his tech with this probe here? But otherwise, since it lived, I can just kind of float it anywhere on the map and get a little bit of info if he starts moving out to attack me. But for now, I actually thought that this was gonna be some oh my gosh. I actually thought this was going to be some aggro here because it didn't look like he'd gone ref mode, which he has in fact, but I saw this PC floating here and then like there were no salvagers, so I was like, well, I guess he's attacking me, right? So that's why the probe is coming back in here. I'm trying to get around the PCs and see if I can scout the carrier, but they're here, so I was a little confused at this point. A couple of LAVs coming out for me though. And I do have that production upgrade just now starting. You felt my head shake from there. Yeah, well, you're correct. And MarchWaden here, as you can see, really trying to explode up onto his 3 base here. And he will get it before me, of course. And not to mention, I have no idea he's on, like, a third. I think that denying this second, I'm denying everything from him, basically. But yeah, the question is, can these LEVs slow him down enough that this doesn't really work out for him? So that's what we want to see, is the attacking player right now. But like the way that MarchWaden ordered this, getting the second PC started before he goes for ref mode, I'm not sure if he ever was really ahead here. I think he's only going to be ahead if he can hold his 3rd base right now. And this PC pathing is a little strange too. It looks like he's going to rectify that. So it's only just now that he's starting to get these salvagers up onto the 3rd that I think he's actually going to start pulling ahead here. And in the meantime, I've got an artifact picked up that we're going to try to extract. I have another support cruiser on the way, so it's not going to be long before I'm up on 3 base. And I'm not really sure if he's managed to get ahead at all. Of course, it'd be nice if we had like tabs for that sort of thing, but you can only ask for so much. Fighter and gunship looks like it'd be the choice for me. I think that's kind of self-explanatory, you know. Fairly big map, Torrent Crater, or Kartova that is, but Torrent Crater is a very big map, but that's not this one. More importantly, I feel like this can sort of punish what I'm seeing from him, which is there's only skims. And if he goes for air himself, I'll kind of be ready to deal with it, so. But I didn't see any tech on that carrier, so I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Railgun Fab looks like started from MarchWaden. And he'd like to stop this extract, but it's not going to be likely. It's A game. Hola, mi amigo. Oh my gosh, wouldn't it be cool if you could drive on like like JK unless if you could drive on the Kartova? One skim trying to get past the LAVs here. Actually, Fighter and Gunship is about to finish. If I don't finish this guy off, that's going to be a little bit awkward for me. But these skims here really getting kind of stuck in. Oh, Fighter and Gunship tech is like 2 seconds away. That skim was very close to scouting the air transition, but just not quite, so a little bit lucky for me. But I don't really know where these guys are headed. MarchWaden making some kind of interesting plays here, but I don't exactly know what his plan is. Looks like a couple salvagers actually accidentally misrallied here as well, but they're gonna get back on track there. And Assault Pack is gonna finish for me, which gives me the boost. I may well be able to boost this guy to safety. Looks like I'm not going to catch it, though. This should be a fine trade for me, though. Probably a 3-for-1. And it looks like I am going to micro that guy out there. And MarchWaden's going to see the third base, although he'll know there's no RU salves on it, but he does know that that is up and running. Again, I really just think at this timing, like, I'm not really behind him at all, despite his eco openers. So I kind of have won, you know, I've gotten the best of both worlds here. And he does have Missile Ship Fab started already, which is pretty nice for him. But I do have the Strike Fighters on the way. He didn't see the air tech, right? But he must have a suspicion just by the fact that he's only seen LAVs on the field. Not a bad call, right? I mean, when your opponent only has strike craft, you kind of wonder, okay, are they going for air here? And to be fair, I was kind of thinking about it as well. But when I see his carrier here, I'm going to see the railgun module up. There's no assault chips, so I don't have to worry about that. And in fact, I took a shot from this heavy, so I know that he's out there too. Nice trade from MarchWaden here. Gonna capitalize on just a couple of LAVs that he finds out in the middle of nowhere. So I managed to get a couple kills for free. Another production upgrade coming out for me, so probably looking to transition into sort of a more powerful kind of late mid-game type of like production. But in the meantime, we do have that 6th strike fighter. It's hard to say. Finishing in just a moment here, so you do imagine they're going to launch any moment now, and indeed here they are coming out of the carrier. And these railguns are really the target. Remember, MarchWaden did get missile ship fabrication, but I guess what he's thinking is that, you know, he'll build missile ships if he needs them. But then to bring the railguns out like this, I feel like it's kind of asking for trouble. A little bit of overkill on that railgun. I mean, maybe that could be... Oh, that's a lot of overkill on this one. Yeah, that could probably be managed a little bit better, but I do still find these salvagers out here in a vulnerable position. This strike fighter here may honestly die to the PC. It looks like he's going to be safe. If I just get that guy docked, it should be okay. A little scuffle going down over here, but neither of us have up. Well, actually, it looks like MarchWaden does have armor 1, but I still have the numbers on him on that side. On this side, though, I'm not exactly sure I'm winning. Oh, probably just because I keep building more LEVs out of the carrier. And indeed, with that production upgrade, I'm making 3 at a time now, so gonna be not terribly difficult to push out like that. I do have AV fab on the way as well. I don't think AVs are really terribly useful in this particular scenario. But I'm planning on taking to this that I can get up to battle cruisers is my idea. And I do have power reserves coming out, 2 base runners as well, but gonna cancel that 3rd. I probably want a support cruiser instead, such that I can get this carrier unlocked and move out in the middle. Since I am, clearly with these base runners, I'm investing into getting some carrier power. Not just from the upgrades, but also from getting the artifacts out. And indeed, we'll probably expect power 2 to get started in just a moment here. That'd be the way that I play this, so it's probably the way that I played this. See what I did there? Although I'm being a little bit late here. MarchWaden, though, still moving out with his army. I really feel like he's too far behind to be this far forward. And not to mention, the strike fighters could still kill all these sandskimmers if I wanted to. He's got a missile ship here, but it's pretty far back. Actually, we have another SC started as well, but there's power 2, alright. I'd say, actually, railguns are kind of a nice answer to battle cruisers in a lot of games, but it's curious, they also happen to be, you know, they also happen to be like, not directly counters to them. It's kind of like when you have AVs fighting assault ships, you know, where both units can hurt each other, and which one does it a little bit better is usually the one that wins that fight, but it depends on a lot of circumstances, so... Battle cruisers can answer railguns, I guess is what I'm saying, but railguns can answer battle cruisers too. It kind of has to do more with what kind of armies are behind supporting them. And again, MarchWaden moving way too far out with these railguns. This missile ship is way back here, so... Was your cat missing? Well, that's good news. I didn't know it was gone. But yeah, he doesn't have the army to justify moving this far out here, so I'm just gonna be like, oh, well, I guess that's free, and capitalize on it. That's what you should do when you see your opponent overextending like that. Battle cruisers will be able to definitely fight railguns when we're in this kind of scenario. I've got this big LAV blob here. They're not terribly upgraded, but they do have damage ones, so, you know, they chonk a little bit. Excuse me. To his credit, MarchWaden here getting Rail Armor 3, which is actually a very big deal. Because of course he needs to be able to keep these guys alive against the air. Obviously, the first armor upgrade is not terribly impactful, but the later armor upgrades do give you HP as well, so that's going to be a big deal for these railguns to survive against the air. And then also the LAVs when they jump on them. Where are the LAVs? Oh, they're right here. See, that's what they're about to do. But it gives them kind of an ability to to hold off, you know, a little bit longer when these LAVs jump in and maybe reduce the margins of error. Right there, though, he used the missile ship barrage actually on this carrier. You can see it took, you know, a decent amount of damage from that, but that means that the LAVs kind of have free reign to just jump in here. I say that as I back them away. It's pretty typical Bozocow thing, but that's alright. We do have a missile ship right up here in the hood, so it looks like these strike fighters are actually going to take a little bit of damage. And MarchWaden's going to drive his carrier out here now. He's making sort of a bold play to try and I mean, potentially Conf could always actually kill your opponent straight up right here, you know, if you, like, push in on their carrier far enough. To be fair, I haven't really got all that much in the way of defense. But I do have the air units. This carrier is pretty powered up. I'm not really too worried about that. He loses a strike fighter for nothing here. This is very typical Bozo air micro. But MarchWaden basically is just driving out and making me leave, back up. The question is, how far is too far? Because if he goes too far out, all of a sudden, when these BCs do pop, which one of them is being built now, so that's obviously on the table. Pretty okay missile barrage, by the way. Claims the life of one of these poor Seagulls here. Maybe there's, you know, a world where, like, I just turn around and all of a sudden kill him, right? LAVs, meanwhile, for the moment, jumping up on top of these assault railguns here. They're gonna get pretty much all the kills. They're at, like, kind of low health universally, but that doesn't really matter too much if they can kill off all of the guys that they're meant to kill, so... The question is, what, like, can I get them out now? There's two Sandscrimmers over here, but that shouldn't be too much resistance. Looks like I'm actually just going to stay in for now, though, trying to hit these salvagers. And railgun accuracy against strikecraft was buffed in the recent patch, so as you can see, MarchWaden is able to land some hits here. But it's still not very effective. Two salvagers go down on that side, and then, like I said, these BCs are popping, so MarchWaden gets a lot of space with this carrier push-up, and he needs to be careful that he doesn't just die to it. Looks like these LAVs are just going to stick in and die. Not entirely sure what I'm doing here. easy to critique your own play in hindsight, eh? He does have Honor Guard Fab done, by the way, but he's not really been able to build any this game. His BC pops, but kind of instantly has to use its smoke ability to keep itself alive. But I have 3 SCs over here, which should be able to heal it up really fast, so feels pretty okay to me. The other day I had Garmlater going on a tirade about how Saban BCs are worthless in patch because they don't have enough health. I don't know if you realize that, like, railgun damage has been reduced by like 60% universally, but you know. But that's whatever. Like I said, this Saban carrier is really powered up, and this was kind of my idea. Well, when I picked the map, my idea was not stay ahead the whole game, but obviously in this position I feel really, really nice about having the Saban carrier powered up, because it do be a heckin' chonker, I guess I'll just say. Maybe that's a little cringe, but... And these BCs, kind of by the same logic, right? Big open spaces here, they can just dump a lot of damage, and they can use that range really nicely. Explaining the ultimate truths of patch, yes, to those poor unfortunate souls who might be deceived by A-Game in his slippery ways otherwise. At least we can say if he's trying to convince me about things, I'm not going to be fooled by it, right? Better me than someone else. As you can see, by the way, this does not really look good for MarchWaden. Maybe I should have mentioned as it was happening, this is kind of a terrible position. This looks like it'll most definitely be the kill. There's not really anything he can do. He's not going to surrender, though. He wants to stick it out till the end. Looks like that PC will go down. I'm kind of doing some terrible focus fire here, actually, so... Not really putting all the damage on this carrier like I ought to, but... There we go, I finally... Wow, I didn't actually manage to kill the carrier. That's okay, though. We get the artifact extraction. We do win the game that way. And that'll do it as well. Yeah, the Saban carrier is real fun to play with when you get this much power. Obviously, like, the way that you can kill... I mean, right now I don't have the range really powered up, because I know most of my damage actually comes from these BCs, so I just have armor powered up here. But the way that you can just, like, kill these railguns from really far away when you get that range. Range of a railgun, by the way, is like 2,050 meters, I think, or it might be 2,150 meters, I'm not sure. But you have to realize the carrier's hitbox... what am I trying to say? Well, the hitbox is, like, the size that you would expect, but, like, the point that units have to attack to hit it is right here. And the turret fires from right here. So that advantage is like 200 meters of range, basically. So when you get powered up even to 4, you can outrange your opponent's railguns. It's pretty devastating. Anyway, let's move on to game 2 of this series. Alrighty, and this one's going to be on Collage Teeth. This was not a big surprise to me, by the way. MarchWaden with the faction pick first this time. That means he picks map as well. And he takes Conf. And my first thought was like, Collage Teeth? Because I know it's coming, right? If I pick Galzy in here, I'm going to be in a bad way. And I could probably do alright with Coalition or Saban, but it's not exactly my main faction, so... I pick Conf to match. And obviously what I'm worried about is Conf Siege, right? But at the same time, you know, I'm playing Conf. I think I might as well play to their strengths here. So this base sprinter, I'm going to go... slide out onto the side there. Obviously, we are planning some blast drone shenanigans, so I'm sure everyone's excited for that. And my plan in this game is going to be to go for some assault ship aggro. And as for MarchWaden, we'll have to see, but it looks like for now he's keeping this base runner, so not going to be a retire as he often does. MarchWaden, a big proponent of base runner retires, I think, generally speaking. This game, he is going to keep it. And there's the Sandskimmer Fab for me, definitely a lot faster than MarchWaden. This is probably going to be ref mode for him. Check the resources tab. Yeah, he does have that lined up pretty okay. Could do a quick drop right now. Yeah, looks like he will. And there's ref mode started at a pretty good timing. Pre-29. I think he can get a little faster to this base burner retire, obviously, but there's a reason he's keeping this. He's probably worried about blast drones for me and wants to have some of his own if he wants to defend against some kind of an early attack. I think the Conf base runner in that sense definitely a lot more valuable than the Galzian one, but the Galzian base runner at the start of the game can drop a scanner like right over here and see what your opponent is doing, so Conf has some advantages, disadvantages in the early game. But it's very, very common to see Galzian players retire that base runner, and Conf players is a bit more of a question, I'd say, generally. We do have Assault Ship Fab started now for me. I think I actually started one on RUs here, if I remember correctly. Which, looking back on it, this may be somewhat of a mistake in that, you know, it would have been better for me to just kind of go for, two on RUs I started with. Would have been better for me to go one on RUs if I want to get Assault Ship Fab started quickly with a little bit more efficiency, but... Ice cream, eh? Ah, I can see it, yeah. Some of that blue color, you know, it's like something that they would put on the ice cream truck, you know, and then it looks kind of like vanilla, doesn't it? Anyway, Assault Ship Fab's still not quite here yet. The thing I'm looking for is, like, can I get something done with blast drones, perhaps? I do have a second one producing here. Obviously, if your opponent is really kind of picking his nose, you can come in with one blast drone, hit the eco, and kill them with skims, but MarchWaden's no fool. He's probably not going to let me just do that. I do have Assault Ship Tech finishing soon, though. I am at fleet capacity, though, but it looks like these are lined up pretty nicely. Of course, blast drones in patch, if you know, they do cost 2 fleet capacity, same as Sandskimmers do, so... And we do have armored units on the way. If his mine is all dried out, wouldn't that mean that he was a gold digger at some point? But no, I would never insinuate that MarchWaden picks his nose. That'd be unseemly. Pretty good missile, by the way, from the carrier here. Does manage to slap one of these Sandskimmers to his doom. I almost catch the skim from MarchWaden as well, but not quite. You can see those nerfs to Sandskimmer regeneration are pretty severe. It takes a long time for them to start healing up here, but this guy will recover to full eventually, so MarchWaden gonna be pleased with that. Almost dodged there, but not quite. Do I play as well? Well, this is a replay of me, in fact, so indeed I do. Sometimes on stream, but... Every time I do tournaments, I always do those on stream, so I can catch that. Yeah, I've beaten him many times. He's mostly a 3v3 guy, so back when he's played 1v1s, it's usually not been terribly difficult, but I don't play 3v3s terribly much, so. By the way, we can see the setup here. Obviously the BDs are on this side ready to go in. Skins want to feed in too to just kind of take advantage of the fact that his attention is kind of focused on this side. I only get one salve that way, but I do manage to get the army kind of stuck in here, and this carrier not in the right position. So like I said, you know, the BDs come in and kind of distract him, and then I'm able to drive in with the full army here. This assault ship is definitely a little bit weaker than the other guys, so I need to be a little careful about that, but he will regen if he doesn't get hit. Obviously, when Gaussian units get hit, they stop regenning. It looks like he actually took a bit of AoE from the shot that was meant for those sand skimmers, so. But this is a lot of assault ships here, right? And MarchWaden's carrier is not up at the main where it needs to be. That blast drone really didn't get too much damage, just one hit, right? But that's all it took, right? Because really the big threat is actually the army coming in on the follow-up. And right now, again, no salvager kills. I haven't killed this PC either, but the amount of mining time I'm delaying for MarchWaden is huge here. And to be fair, I'm only on one base, so he's not totally dying, but yeah, I'm a total noob, Houston. That's why I'm beating, you know, the player who's in the finals of the last tournament. That's fine. But yeah, he's not totally dying here, but it doesn't look great. He's got a lot of disruption on his side, so gonna be a little difficult to stabilize for MarchWaden here. And my plan, obviously, I do want to get eco set up here. I get this extract up, by the way. This base burner probably gonna be lost, but that's okay. He got his artifact out, so he's kind of done his job. I want to get ref mode started here, and I want to get back up onto I want to get up onto 2 base now and match my opponent, but I don't want to let up the pressure here, right? When you're doing a build like this, and you've slowed your opponent down, if you slow yourself down by the same amount, you've basically taken all the risk for no reward, right? You want to keep putting the pressure on, so that's why I do come in here. A little bit of power on the carrier, by the way, means I can power up the mobility support a little bit more, get this PC back home faster when ref mode is done, so I feel okay to kind of charge him in for now. Probably about time to start sending him back, though. But these assault ships getting up on a MarchWaden second, and this time it is going to be salvager kills in a big way. Looks like I'm actually going to keep this PC here for a moment. No, it looks like he will back out now. But all 4 salvagers from that second base killed, and once that carrier starts moving over to try and respond, we do have these 3 assault ships on the back line too. Pretty okay micro for me as well, so I do manage to get 1 kill first. Well, this guy does die, right? Yeah, that would have been really sad for MarchWaden if that guy didn't make it out. The ref mode done now. This PC a little bit far away, so it's going to take some time to get back, but he will get back eventually. And again, no salvager kills on this side, but this amount of disruption is almost worth it on its own, so. Now we're going to be up onto 2 base when MarchWaden is still just on 1. Really, really good spot for me. He has teched a lot of carrier power here, so he's got some advantage in a way, right? But definitely you would always prefer my position to his in this moment, I guess I'll say. Base runner comes out as well, so I have another base runner on the field. I want to keep getting these extracts out if I can, right? Every little tick further you get here is even more pressure, you know, toward that endgame condition where you can just like, oh, wrong. That endgame condition where you can win off the artifacts or win off the fact that he knows you could win off the artifacts. So definitely good to get this base runner out here. Right now, it's actually going to use the smoke to try and gain a little bit of ground here. This often happens off the follow-up of like an assault ship rush that my opponent actually has more units than me on the field at the moment, so he is actually going to be able to push on me pretty hard. A little bit of a misposition on this assault ship here as well, probably going to get him killed, so. Right now, with that blast run, he could maybe take this fight, but with this 4th assault ship coming, he probably has to give the ground here. And he wants an extract of his own, but it's very unlikely he's going to get this out with the field in this position, so probably best he brings this base runner back over to here and keep it safe. Oh my gosh, he's gonna run it down? No, he's gonna back out. Shaking my SMH, eh? Armor 3 coming out from me now. We do pick up this artifact here on the way to the extraction zone. MarchWaden's assault ships here in range of mine, I believe. Yeah, they are. And I do have a little bit of high ground off this dune as well, but I want to keep up the chase, so he can sort of neutralize that advantage. But still, it's 4 on 2, so not looking great for the assault ships from MarchWaden here. They do go down. And that blast drone from MarchWaden, I think, just ran into the space runner, but I'm not entirely sure. It seemed like a mistake. And now he sees, okay, maybe there's a window where I can get this artifact out here, but I am going to send 2 other assault ships up onto that side, so probably not going to be an extract for him. Here's artifact number 4 of the game. And at this point, I think it's about time for me to get up on the 3 base. So I have the money for that PC. I'm probably going to get it started, yep. And MarchWaden would love to get some kind of tech. He'd love to get another PC, but it's tricky. He needs to keep building units here because he's definitely behind on army. And he needs to get control of this field, too. Really, actually, a big deal that he picked up this artifact here, because if he didn't, then I'd be the one grabbing it. And we'd be looking at, you know, game point here once this guy extracted. So definitely that was a good move for MarchWaden to just grab this. Unfortunate that he's going to kind of throw the base runner away. He could definitely have held this and, you know, say, here's a little bit of a threat of me extracting on that side, so you need to keep your assault ships, at least some of them, over on that flank. But, Siege Cruiser tech is going to start getting locked in for me at a much earlier timing than MarchWaden can really... hope to get here. He is going to try to use that carrier to muscle his way out into the middle of the field. To be fair, he'll do pretty well for himself here. He manages to get like a 3-for-1 trade, I think, on these assault ships, and he may well catch this 4th as well. Oh, but I missed this. However, I am in on the back line here. A couple BDs came in, that's why all these salvagers are so low. This Sandscammer here actually going to attempt to finish off the kills, which I think it will be able to do. You know, you might be right, A-Game. You might well be right about that. The BDs have definitely not paid off in this game so far. And I think, yeah, like having that tech a little bit faster, whether he was going to go for ref mode or not, retiring the base runner may have saved him from this early game damage that he had taken. And that's really been the how do I say? That's really been what's, you know, held him back this whole game, is what's happened in the early game, right? So, I mean, not that I ever doubt A-Game's analysis, but it seems pretty on point here. I used to, you know, there was a time where we thought that, like, going for ref mode without keeping that base runner was really quite greedy. It's never quite been like that for Conef, who doesn't get, you know, the scouting ability of the probe, but these days I think a lot of people are having success retiring that base runner when they go for ref mode. MarchWaden's carrier here, by the way, not really going to take any damage from these assault ships, you would assume, so that's not a huge concern for him. I do have, like I said, though, kind of siege tech is done here, and I've got more power than him as well by a large degree. Obviously, I'm teching 2, which is what he was at, so now we both have the same power teched, but I've got 4 artifacts, which each give you 2 if you didn't know. So obviously, if it comes to like just a straight up carrier fight here, there's no way he's gonna, there's no way he's gonna be able to fight that. But then the question is, what has he got here? And if I recall, actually, in-game, MarchWaden had already pretty much surrendered, but he said, like, I want to see your interceptors first. And I told him, oh, I went straight to Conef Siege, which he thought was kind of funny. But in fact, I'm going to abandon this third base here with the carrier for now. And I think my thinking here is that I'm going to... I'm thinking that my thinking here is that I'm going to try and like move out with this carrier and pressure him so that I can gain field control and extract this last artifact. I've got 2 base runners, right? These 2 are both going to be up in just a short time, and MarchWaden definitely doesn't have any to grab these. Even if he does, this one's up too, so this is probably not a bad call for me, because I can definitely get them out if I can just get control of the field here briefly. I will build a PC too, and then I'll just drive back up onto that third base and hold that again, where the carrier is leaving. Here's the barrage from the Conef Siege, just to try and hurt these assault ships as much as possible on their retreat. Freaking Conef Siege. I mean, even when I use it, it feels like a dirty unit, you know, but... This ship pad coming out for me actually just because I'm, you know, a little bit concerned about maybe an air transition from MarchWaden, but he's actually going for Conef Siege tech now. Seems too low tempo. He knows this carrier is out here. So he shouldn't be surprised when this shows up. And look at that, though, actually. He built another base runner and managed to grab that artifact there, which is really big, like I said, because... Oh, whoops. I'm probably going to want to pick that up. Yeah. That's really big, like I said, because he's going to want to stop me from grabbing it myself. And sure enough, he does. There's that PC I was talking about, so this will go back and hold that third base so that I don't have to long-distance mine. This looks a little derpy, though. This base runner for me is just kind of... driving out to the extraction zone on its own here. I mean, the carrier's still there, and obviously this carrier doesn't have a huge amount of power, but it will be able to stop it before I can get there, so... This is a little bit of a silly move by me. I mean, if I just hold on to this, I have, you know, the pressure of like a game-winning scenario if I ever push my opponent off of this area. I'm gonna pop the smoke, but that won't get him all the way to the zone, that's for sure. Actually, you can see the second base runner is trying to get over here so that it can smoke as well. It's drawing a lot of fire from the carrier, which is nice for me, but... It's the smoke! Ooh. It's pretty close, actually, but the thing is, the further away from this carrier I get, the more damage I take, actually, because he's got those cruise missiles. Looks like he won't even need it, though. It does go down in the end. I do have the game-winning artifact then picked up over here, but he's got some assault chips to intercept, so that might not necessarily extract as well. He's being a bit wily here. It's kind of nice. And at this moment here as well, the way that he retreats with this carrier, my siege cruiser is actually doing more damage to me than to him, which is a little funny. Looks like these assault chips, though, are just going to try and feed in against this kind of siege cruiser, which I would say is probably a bad idea. I've still got assault chips of my own, too, although they're quite wounded, but definitely not a fight that MarchWaden is going to win. Barrage comes out to just try and hurt them on the way out. But again, this base runner kind of just feeding in. It's pretty classic Bozo micro here, as you can see. Yeah, and sure enough, that will in fact be forfeit, so... Double barrage comes out of these assault chips to try and finish him off here, but I should really just focus on this carrier, to be honest with you. A couple of missiles, by the way, from MarchWaden do bring this kind of siege cruiser quite low, but it'll be hard for him to ever finish kills here, so I'm not really too worried about that. At the moment, though, I don't really have anything firing on MarchWaden's carrier, which is what I really ought to do. In fact, he's almost got as much health as me at this time. But the entire army is melted away. There's not really any damage output from MarchWaden here, so you would consider this extremely unlikely he would ever actually manage to finish off his carrier. In fact, I'm going to power up the mobility support just to kind of drive away, it seems. And yeah, the Con of Siege is going to finish that off. And that will be the series going 2-0 for me. It just kind of felt like both games, his opener was a little strange, and obviously the first game, I don't know what he was doing, and the second it's not quite as easy to just criticize it because he did get attacked, and that makes things always a little bit more tricky. But once he got behind in the early game, it felt like the whole game was not decided already at that point, but it, you know, it just kind of went downhill from there. But I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.